And welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk Nutrition, wherever and however you may be listening or watching the show, and whatever you may be doing. So glad you could show up today for however long, a minute, 10, 5. We're here for a couple of hours, and we're live every day, round numbers 9 to 11 Eastern Time, and 5 days a week. The show runs all the time. Even when I'm on vacation, it runs. We'll do, best of. Is it fair to say that we run 365?
Yeah. Somewhere. We're on Saturdays and Sundays. I know they do a replay from our home station here in Tampa, and then other markets play Saturday and Sunday. So
technically, this show does, it airs live 5 days a week. But it airs 7 days a week somewhere. It's airing, right?
Yes.
365. It's pretty remarkable. Sometimes here, we originate out of Tampa, Florida. And and here at the station at the iHeartMedia complex where we start this broadcast every day, we've been coming here for 14 years. And this is the 14th anniversary of Let's Talk Nutrition on May the 5th, 2005 at 2 o'clock, I believe it was. It was either 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. I think it was 2. We went on the air, and I was sitting right over there. Right here, my right. And had a co-host at the time. And they thought I needed a co-host because I had never been in radio before, and I guess they figured I needed a net. Well, after 3 months, the co-host was gone, and I had the show, and it's been an interesting journey, I must tell you. And I had to learn radio as I went. I had never been on radio, and Gordon Bird, his office is to my right next to this studio, and everybody here at iHeart. It was called Clear Channel back in the day. I was mentored by some of the best here, one of whom just passed away, Steve Dumig. Great sportscaster. I learned a lot from these people, and I grew up on radio, and Gary was telling me that some of the terrible weather, where was that, Gary?
In Missouri.
And the only communication people had, all the cell towers were down, was the radio towers somehow stayed up. And it was the radio that people could listen to get updates and to know what was what. And I suspect it probably most likely saved people's lives. Can't imagine what the world would be like without radio. I can't even comprehend that. It's a great companion for many. Of course, they thought that radio would go by the wayside when TV came. They thought that radio would go by the wayside when all these social media platforms were created and the internet was created. Radio's done. Get the broadcast graveyard, get that all prepared to bury radio. And more, you know what? Listenership has not dropped. It's amazing. It's just, the people that work in radio, these are very dedicated and devoted people. All these affiliates that we're in, we added a new one. We'll announce it formally tomorrow, but in New Mexico, right?
Yes, sir.
We're everywhere. And
they're going to play us on Sunday, so.
That's great. Some stations play us on Saturday and Sundays and different times throughout the day. So you have to check your local listings. It's a privilege to be in radio. Privilege to be with you. And doing this show, you learn a lot of things, let me tell you. And modern medicine being what it is, it's pharmacologically, in large measure, pharmacologically driven, right? The drugs. And I don't necessarily oppose that. You don't hear me go after pharmaceutical companies. I will go after them for their pricing. That I will go after. But to say, that drugs kill and we need to eliminate all pharmacy, no, you just, no. That's not helpful. So my point bringing this up is that we look for, and oftentimes these drugs are imitating the compounds that are found in plants, right? They imitate them. They're trying to imitate them, or they will use the compounds from the plants. So in getting ready for today's show, came across a place on the planet called Mauritius. Turns out that Mauritius it's formerly known as the Republic of Mauritius. It has an interesting history. It's an island nation, and it's situated in the middle of the Indian Ocean. The main island of Mauritius is located 2,000 kilometers off the southeast coast of the African continent. So when you're out there in Mauritius, can you do a Google map and show us on, where it sits in the water? It has to be out there all by itself, right? The Republic of Mauritius, the capital and largest city is Port Louis, and it's located on the main island of Mauritius. Now, interesting. Now, I bring this up. Be patient with me. This is kind of cool what happens here. In the 16th century, the Dutch took possession of Mauritius. They abandoned it in 1710, and then the French took it. And I said to Gary, Gary, check my work. Did the French occupy Mauritius? And the reason why I asked them, because the way it's spelled, it's in French. It's French. Sure enough, they took control of the island in 1715 and called it Isle de France. They gave it up to the British in the Treaty of Paris in 1814, the 19th century. So that's its history. Where is it?
The B. See the B over there?
Okay. All right. So it's right there off the coast of off the southeast coast of Africa, continent of Africa. There it sits in the middle of the Indian Ocean. It's unbelievable. Well, why do I bring it up? I bring it up because it turns out that they've discovered these exotic plants on the island that scientists are now studying. And these are tropical plants, of course. And these researchers from the National University of Singapore, Department of Pharmacy, they spent 3 years investigating the pharmacological properties of local plants on Mauritius. Whatever inspired them to do that, I have no clue. They found 3 species of plant that were particularly effective in inhibiting the growth of several cancers. Their work is now published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology, their findings. When I come back, I'll tell you more about these plants and these particular compounds in these. I've never heard of these plants. I dare say if Dr. Ingram was on, he didn't hear of them either. They're pretty, this is news to me. My point here is that these scientists, I keep saying, they work in obscurity. They keep searching for cures for cancer. And many of them look to the plants for those cures. And of all places, on an island nation in the middle of the Indian Ocean, they happen to find some. I'll tell you more.
Ladies and gentlemen, listen up. It's me, your immune system.
reporting on this story about a study. These researchers from the National University of Singapore, Department of Pharmacy, took about 3 years of their life and went to the island nation of Mauritius. Now, why Singapore University? What's going on? Turns out, and why Mauritius? Turns out that cancer is the current leading cause of death in Singapore. 1 out of every 4 to 5 people develop the condition at some point in their life. That's extraordinary. It's the second leading cause of death in our country, as you know. A 2017 report by the Singapore Health Promotion Board stated that the number of people who receive a cancer diagnosis in that country will continue to rise. But the number of people who survive will also increase as medical technology and cancer care improve. They have a tradition in Singapore where they are very fond of and embrace the use of herbs and turn to herbalists to find cures or treatments for cancer. Hence, that's why you have these researchers from Singapore showing up on the island nation of Mauritius, out there in the middle of the Indian Ocean. It's 2,000 miles off the southeast coast of the African continent, it turns out. Southeast Asian countries, including Singapore, Malaysia, are undergoing rapid urbanization, it's reported, transforming the landscape and the culture. But there's a lack of scientific evidence around medical properties of the local plants. So this is inspiring them, given their natural penchant, to use plants as curative, as therapies, as part of therapy to treat cancer. They go to Mauritius and start looking for these compounds in different, and they sure enough found them. They found evidence of anti-cancer benefits in 5 plants. My guest today, Christopher Herbert, will have some appreciation for this, given the company for whom he works and what they do. I'll explain at the bottom of the hour. They found bancoot berry, Sabah snake grass, fool's curry leaf. I'm giving you the, not the Latin names. 7-star needle, black-faced general, South African leaf. It goes on. They found others, but there were 5 that they zeroed in on. I must confess, I'm not an herbalist, and I know enough just to get me, into enough trouble. I don't know these plants. I don't. They found Sabah snake grass. And they figured out that some of these plants work, some of them don't. That one did not prevent the growth of cancerous cells, despite many people with cancer in the region that use it. So my point here is that around the world, working almost in obscurity, scientists are trying to find cures for cancer and turning to the plants for answers. And necessity is the mother of invention. Singapore, cancer is the leading cause of death. And so they're very inspired and motivated to try to find cures. Our findings provide new scientific evidence for the use of traditional herbs for cancer treatment and pave the way for the development of new therapeutic agents, close quote. That's Dr. Ling, who was one of the investigators, I presume, in the study. So they're pharmacologically driven, but in a natural kind of way. They're not using synthetics. They're trying to see if they can get. And this research will start with laboratory research. They will do Laboratory research takes two forms. It'll either be in a petri dish or a lab animal, or both. Before it these are preclinical. They'll do preclinical studies. This is usually how it works, and then they'll go do some clinical studies. Typically, maybe an observational study, and then they'll get the clinical trials. And I was talking to my daughter over the weekend, and she works for a pharmaceutical company, and we were talking about clinical trials and how much it takes, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars, to develop these drugs. There's one new drug that's out. You want to know what the cost of it is? $2.5 million for the drug. Who can afford that? Nobody can afford that. And it's for a very exotic disease that affects newborns. Over $2 million for the drug. Yeah, that's where things start to get off the rails a little bit. So, and you might say, well, this doesn't interest me. Yeah, not until and when you get cancer, and then you're looking for some treatment that works. So, let the scientists do their work. They'll figure it out sooner or later. And they're turning to nature, like we have throughout our history. As I said, my guest today, Chris Herbert, has an appreciation for that. We'll come back, we'll introduce him again. He's been on before, they're a sponsor. And we'll get him to talk a little bit about the company, any breaking news, and what's on his mind. I know what's on his mind, but we'll have him tell you. You are listening to Let's Talk Nutrition, featuring the island of Mauritius today.
Don't be
Breaking news. Some good news for a change. As you know, probably many of you know, Alex Trebek was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, stage 4. He is still in chemotherapy. He's still in the middle of his treatment. And apparently, he's winning his battle, they say. It's now 3 months since he announced that he'd been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And he revealed in a new interview that he is near, quote, near remission, close quote. Holy cow. He was speaking with People magazine, and Trebek told them that some of the tumors have, quote, shrunk by almost 50%, and noted that even his doctors have expressed surprise at how well he is doing. Quote, it's kind of mind-boggling, Mr. Trebek told People magazine. The doctors said they hadn't seen this kind of positive result in their memory, close quote. Alex Trebek is 78 years old. He went public with his diagnosis back in March. I reported on it. And he vowed at that time, and he did a video to, quote, fight, unquote, the disease. About 56,770 people will be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer this year. Nearly 46,000 of them will die from it. This is according to the American Cancer Society. The 5-year survival rate for pancreatic cancer is about 9%. So he's waging his battle. Good for him. Trebek told People magazine that he is still in the midst of his chemotherapy treatments, but he cried tears of joy when he found out how well he's been responding to treatment. Good for him, man. And he thanked everybody for their prayers and their thoughts. Good for you, Alex. Not a way to do it. Christopher Herbert is our guest, and let's bring him on. He's been waiting in the wings. Chris, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on.
Dr. Garko, thanks for having me. Really do appreciate it. And also congrats on the 14 years being on air.
Well, thank you very much. You want to go to Mauritius with me?
I would love to.
And we'll go look at these exotic
more plant species.
We'll go look at these exotic plants that these scientists are fiddling with and trying to see if they can help cure cancer. Isn't that? They're from Singapore University, and as I said, cancer is the leading cause of death in Singapore. In some of these Southeastern Asian countries, Malaysia, Singapore, cancer is a nemesis. It's also a nemesis in our culture too. But out of necessity, they're trying to find cures, but they turn to traditional use of herbs. Christopher, what do you make of that?
It makes sense, right? I mean, we come from the earth. I do believe that there are plants that we haven't discovered yet that help with certain ailments that we might be under. If we also look back at the pharmacological aspect, they still to this day make pharmaceuticals from plants.
Yes, sir.
There's about 120 that they currently get from plants as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
They're just at a different strength, and they isolate a certain chemical from that plant. So, one question I wanted to ask you, Dr. Garko, was, do you think that for every disease that we have, that there's a plant on Earth that will help cure it?
Well, you know what? I was in the copy. Wait, are you out into my brain? I was up in the copy room, and I swear to you, this is the truth. I was thinking, nature makes many mistakes. Nature is not perfect. I believe that one of nature's mistakes is cancer. And I was thinking just what you said. And I said, but I wonder, too, if nature has provided a correction for its own mistakes.
Yeah.
I would 5 minutes ago, I was thinking that 5 minutes ago, when right before that last block, when we did that last block, well, it was more than 5 minutes ago, but at the end of the first block, I went up to the copy room to pick up some things that I printed, and that was on my mind because I knew I was going to talk about Mauritius some more. I do think that, Christopher, I do believe that nature has ways of self-correcting and figuring out how to bring itself back into balance. And we're part, we get disassociated from nature. We are part of nature. We forget that. Just because we build hotels and condominiums and drive cars doesn't mean that, if you get my point, and we get disassociated. Your point's well taken. We do come from the earth. We come from the ocean. But
Well, it comes back to the Hippocratic Oath, right? Let food be thy medicine. And so if that's our medicine, why don't we look further into exploring all the plant species that there are? I mean, I know in the Amazon, I think we've discovered something around 14,000 plant species, but that's only a mere fraction of what's out there.
A mere fraction. Well, sometimes there's no profit in that. How do you patent something that's found in a plant? I guess
that's true.
Right? I guess they have ways to do that, but I don't trash the pharmaceutical companies. I do go after them for their exorbitant prices, but I keep asking, if you were to eliminate all pharmaceuticals, what would happen? We'd be in a lot of trouble. So they
you know what?
Go ahead.
I do feel that they hold their place and their value within our daily lives, and there does come a time where we do need to rely on pharmaceuticals, but it shouldn't be an everyday occurrence.
Yeah, some doctors use them as a first resort. Some doctors use them as a last resort. Depends on how you're trained, I guess, and your own value system and predisposition as a physician. But if you assume you're a physician, a cardiologist, you got a patient walks in, he's got high blood pressure, he's got high cholesterol, high triglycerides, lipid panel is off the chain, he's got artery disease, he's got atherosclerosis, he's obese, he's not going to change his diet, he's not going to exercise. What are you going to do with him? You're going to give him blood pressure medication, you're going to try to lower his cholesterol, you're going to give him medications for that. Otherwise, he's going to die. If I were a physician, I'd give him the meds too.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Do no harm.
Ridgecrest Herbals, what do you have on your mind? I know what you have. Why don't you share with the audience? What do you have on your mind today?
Well, I just wanted to talk about eye health, especially with blue light. I know it's starting to become rampant, especially with today's technology and a lot of people spending screen time, not only on computers, cell phones, laptops, tablets, TVs. It's becoming a lot more rampant, and they're putting blue light into everything now to make the image more sharper.
Let's find out what blue light is. Would gamers fall into this category of being having their eyes put into jeopardy?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I have a story about gamers for you too. We'll be back with Chris Herbert, one of my favorite people. Robert is our guest today. He's with Ridgecrest Herbals, and he's an educator. Christopher, welcome back. I'm sorry, I didn't ask you how you're doing. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm good. How are the boys?
Oh, the boys are fantastic. Everybody's just growing like weeds and eating everything in my house, so everybody's doing good.
They got voracious appetites, don't they?
Oh, they do. You know, I never realized how much kids could eat until I had them, and then it made me flash back to my childhood. And I remember eating quite a bit as a kid too, and I'm like, man, now I got it threefold.
Yeah, your wife is a saint.
Yeah, yes, she is.
So, you wanted to talk about eyes, and there's a story trending. First of all, what is blue light? Let's set it up. What is blue light?
Yeah. So blue light is essentially it's part of the they call it the visual light spectrum. And so if we imagine a rainbow and all the colors within the rainbow, the classic Roy G. Biv, right? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Well, along that spectrum, you have the blue, and all light is waves. Different colors have different energies. Well, blue light occupies the highest energy portion of the visible spectrum with the shortest wavelengths. So that's why they're putting this into electronics to get the most energy with less output. And it also makes the image a lot more sharper, a lot clearer. And so they add it more to electronics to get a better output of images. And so we see it now in computers, cell phones, laptops, TVs, and it's and we'll talk about it later, but it's one of the only lights that penetrates to the back of the macula and causes damage to the macula.
And we won't get into the weeds on how they do it, but they put that wavelength into the hardware, into the technology, the screen. Is that it?
Yep.
In a word?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And how much exposure on average? Do you know anything about, how long is it, what kind of damage, how long does it take, and so on? Any of those kind of details?
I don't know exactly how long it takes for it to cause the damage, but, the screen time for the average adult is close to 11 hours a day. And so, we know that as time has gone on, as the years have gone on, screen time has continually increased, and so has visual impairment. And they're starting to see it, too, at younger ages as well. And so it's becoming more and more prevalent within today's age. And I believe it's 1 in 7 people live with some form of vision impairment. And then 80% of all those cases, visual impairment is avoidable.
Is the damage, what part of the eye? Did you say the macula is what gets damaged?
Yeah, it's the macula. All the light that I had mentioned earlier from the visual light spectrum, blue light is the only light that will pass through into the eye to the back of the macula and start to cause damage. And so we need to build up our macular pigment within our eyes. We could do this by eating a lot of vegetables in lutein and zeaxanthin, and you could find these in kale, collard greens, and spinach. But turns out we don't eat a lot of these.
I'm shocked.
They're not the most tasting greens. I will admit that. But at the same time, we need to do our best to eat, the rainbow of fruits and veggies within our diet to get more lutein and zeaxanthin, and primarily your green leafy vegetables.
As it turns out, to underscore your point about how much time people are spending in front of these computer screens and monitors that have these blue light in them, the World Health Organization, pardon me, I'm trouble with my voice. The World Health Organization declared gaming as a disorder, an addiction. That's how much time these gamers, to the point now that it's an unofficial diagnosis for addiction. but gamers are at risk for addiction. Not only that, but they're at risk for losing their eyesight too, aren't they?
Yeah, losing their eyesight, it's a huge cycle. So not only losing their eyesight, they're addicted to the gaming, and then, what are the ramifications of the social aspects of that? And then also, too, what about, blue light interferes with our circadian rhythm. So it suppresses our melatonin, and then not only are they gaming, they could be gaming at night, and then they have a hard time going to sleep. And so then they start, their sleep becomes impaired, and then throughout the day, all of that becomes impaired, and then their work suffers and relationships suffer. So it's just a never-ending cycle.
At one point, Gary will verify this. I said to him, this was about 2 years ago, I said, Gary, we need to get on social media, and I can do some videos for gamers talking about nutrition to help them not only with the actual gaming, but to produce better cognitive function, be more protective of their eyesight, and so on. Remember we talked about that?
Yes, we did.
You recall?
Yes, I do.
That concept's still alive.
I mean, well, can we talk about it after the show then? I got time.
Okay, see, there you go. That one of my producers, see?
And Reggie's a big gamer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And that's you guys are at risk. You don't realize it. And you can enhance the brain, the cognitive function, but you can also do things to protect yourself. Who thought? I wonder how many of those gamers know what you just shared, Christopher. I wonder.
Yeah, I wonder too. And there's some other things that the gamers could do to help with, the blue light being infracted into their eye. You could also do, you could wear glasses to help block some of the blue light. You could put screens up on your TV or cell phone or tablet. And even phones now sometimes have built-in apps that you could reduce the blue light, and you'll notice that the screen turns a little bit more orange.
I see.
The same is true with the glasses. The glasses are more orange tinted.
Well, we come back. Ridgecrest Herbals has some herbal recommendations to help with your eyesight. Keep your future in sight, right? You got to take care of your eyesight to do that. And we'll talk about that in the second hour with my guest today and our guest, Chris Herbert from Ridgecrest Herbals. RidgecrestHerbals.com, Christopher?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Pay a visit. We'll come back. We'll talk some more. Plenty to talk about. As you age, your eyes become very vulnerable. They're delicate. They're complicated. The way the eye is structured, complicated, delicate, and they need to be protected. We can offer you some ways to do that today. We'll do that. We'll be back.
Hey, don't forget to join us on social media. Go to Let's Talk Nutrition on our Facebook page. You can also go to our YouTube page at Let's Talk Nutrition, where we have over 66,000 views. We have 1,100 videos up. They're all archived. And don't forget to call into the show at 877-897-8255. That's 877-897-TALK.
And thank you for tuning in today. That voice you heard was Gary Gilkey. He's a media manager for LTN and one of the technical producers in the show. And Reggie behind the glass today, working the board. And Christopher Herbert is on the phone. We got him connected, and you're there. Perfect mix.
Yep.
Great mix. Chris, welcome back. Okay, so we don't need to go to the island of Mauritius. I suspect, though, on that island nation, there are plants that would have compounds that would be excellent for eye health. But while those scientists look and hunt, we can turn to Ridgecrest Herbals to help us with our eye health, right?
Absolutely. And, there has to be some plants on that island in order to be able to help us with eye health. But for the sake of this product, we actually get the main ingredient that makes up the product called Essentialize to help with filtering out the blue light is called Glutamax 2020, and it comes from marigold flowers. They're actually grown in India, all fair trade, and the marigold flowers are incredibly high in lutein, zeaxanthin, and mesozeaxanthin. And, there's 600 carotenoids found in nature. These three, the lutein, zeaxanthin, and mesozeaxanthin, are the only carotenoids found in the eye specifically for the macula.
Huh. Wow. So let's go back over that. You said a lot there. Let's take those compounds in the product. What's the name of the product again?
It's called Essentialize.
Okay, clever. I see what you're doing. And the three you mentioned there are three compounds, three ingredients in that product.
Yeah. So there's it comes from marigold flowers, and it's and they extract the carotenoids from the marigold flowers. And the carotenoids that are found in here are lutein, zeaxanthin, and mesozeaxanthin. And these carotenoids are the only carotenoids found in the eye, and specifically into the macula, and it helps with macular pigment. And it acts as sunglasses over the macula to help protect from blue light damage.
Wow. The zeaxanthin I've seen in products. The mesozeaxanthin, not so much.
Yeah, it's an isomer, and it's you could routinely find it in marigold flowers, and then as we spoke for the dark green leafy vegetables, which we all consume 10 to 12 servings a day, right?
Yeah, right. and I'm going to be an astronaut. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So, the marigold flowers. Do you have any idea about the history, how this all came about, how they discovered, or you may not know? And I don't mean to put you on the spot. If you don't, that's okay.
Yeah, no, I don't really know the history and why or how they found that, but I do know that from the research they found for helping protect the eye, it was interesting to note that all the carotenoids found in nature, that only specifically these three were found in the eye. And then they started researching, where do we get these carotenoids from? Well, dark green leafy vegetables and marigold flowers.
Marigold flowers. Isn't there a little nursery rhyme about marigold flowers or something? Carotenoids. All right. What are carotenoids?
Carotenoids are essentially just antioxidants. They're a different form of antioxidants.
Isn't it the colors? Speaking of color spectrum, yellow, orange, red.
Yeah.
Aren't those the colors associated with the carotenoids?
Exactly. Yeah. Carrots, orange, and actually all the bell peppers, and then dark green vegetables too.
Sure. Yellow, orange, or red fat soluble pigments, including carotene, which give color to the plant parts, like your tomatoes, and even autumn leaves, for that matter. Yeah, the wonderful gifts. If you go to the Linus Pauling Institute, you will see they do a whole nice summary on the carotenoids. They talk about lutein, zeaxanthin, and alpha carotene, beta carotene, beta cryptoxanthin, whatever. I don't even know what that is, that compound. Nevertheless, these are wonderful gifts from nature. So do you take this on an empty stomach? How many times a day? Morning, noon, and night? What do you do?
Yeah, great question. So you could take it either way, empty stomach or with food. I would recommend taking it before your day kind of starts. So before you're going to be looking at the computer screen for long periods of time. So, we mentioned gamers. Unfortunately, I spend a good amount of time on the computer as well. And so, if you're, constantly working at the computer, if you're under fluorescent lights, those give off a lot of blue light as well. 90% now of all fluorescent and LED and CFL lights are blue light. And so, if you spend a heavy amount of time indoors under fluorescent lights, and if you do the double standard of fluorescent lights and computer time, you're kind of in a world of hurt. And so you also notice, too, that as the day goes on and you're continuously staring at your computer, you'll notice that your eyes get really dry,
yes,
itchy. Sometimes they start burning after a while.
Yes.
And, it contributes to digital eye strain. And digital eye strain, or computer vision syndrome is another word for it, has overtaken carpal tunnel syndrome as the #1 computer-related complaint.
I'll be darned. The things you learn. When you heard Christopher talk earlier in the first hour, I just pushed myself away from the page I was looking at. Darn it. He had mentioned, it turns out that the compounds, the two that he specifically isolated on in the product, let me grab my notes here. I somehow, the lutein and the zeaxanthin, you can get those in your diet. He mentioned the foods to eat. It turns out that those are selectively taken up into the macula of the eye, where they absorb up to 90%, as you heard Christopher saying, 90% of blue light. And these compounds will help maintain optimal visual function. This is even more complicated than we're talking about. There's so much to say about it, but again, nature, isn't it cool how nature provides these wonderful compounds, these chemicals, to nourish the body? I mean, the plant world is the pharmacy, is it not, Christopher?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that.
It's a pharmacy. And you heard Chris also mention that, as I had alluded to also, that many of the pharmaceutical companies, you said there's about 121 or so drugs that...
Yeah.
Go ahead, you say it.
Yeah, about 120 drugs where they extract the chemical component that is the thing that helps with the disease or the ailment, and they make a pharmaceutical out of it. One of the major ones that they had done was Tylenol. Tylenol used to come from white willow bark.
Right.
They would isolate the isomer from that and make aspirin. I don't think that they do it anymore. They might make it synthetically.
Yeah, they do. When we come back,
yeah,
we'll explore this some more. Chris Herbert with Ridgecrest Herbals, coast to coast and globally. Welcome back. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. Chris Everett is our guest today. He's an educator with Ridgecrest Herbals, talking about the eye. Now, if you get a moment and, go to pick Google, whatever, type in eye anatomy. And just when you look at how intricate the eye is, and you can see where the macula is located in the back of the eye. I mean, the eye is so delicate, such an intricate piece of anatomy, and so sensitive, and by the way, vulnerable to oxidative stress, very vulnerable. And so you need to protect it, and you can protect it. Given this modern age, given our exposure to all the blue light that Chris has been talking about, it's a very powerful wave in the light spectrum, in the color spectrum, and it just can do so much damage. And you have, like, gamers, for example, spending hours and hours in front of a screen, as well as people working in an office in everyday life. And you can, unbeknownst to them, damaging the macula of their eye. Is that damage reversible or not, Christopher?
To say it's reversible, I'm not sure, but it's definitely preventable. There's a lot of things that we could do. And, with the macula is essentially it's responsible for a bunch of things. It's for visual acuity, so the ability to see clearly, and it's essentially what helps make up the 20/20 vision. Contrast sensitivity, so differentiate objects from their background and the best color vision. Light sensitivity, so natural reaction to bright light exposure. You'll notice it too if you're sleeping in bed or if you're lying in bed in a dark room and then you turn on your phone and it's super bright. That's light sensitivity. That's the macula. You'll notice you'll kind of squint. The eye's trying to protect itself.
I see.
And then also from glare recovery, so temporary blindness from intense lighting. That's one of the main issues with screen time, especially at night.
Yeah, if you're watching the show, we're showing you a lateral view, the anatomy of the human eye. You can see where the macula is located. Look at, if you're watching, look how intricate the lens, and you look at all the parts of the eye. I mean, it's just astonishing. Chris, the more you study, whether it's anatomy, biology, whatever, the wonders of nature and how this all by design, it's design of the various parts of the. I mean, just one cell. People often ask. You get into these philosophical conversations about what makes you believe in a higher order, what causes you to, think that there's something more greater than what we are. And I've been asked that question in interviews, given all your training and science and this and that. What do you believe in God? Do you believe in a higher order? And I'll say, yeah, I do. And I'll say, well, why is that? I say, well, what really convinced me is a single cell, one cell. I don't need the cosmos to convince me. When you look at the architecture of a cell and all that goes on within one cell, that was enough to persuade me. That is just, from the cell to the cosmos and everything in between, how it's all so put together. I know that there's a lot of randomness that goes into this, but there's an order about it all too, isn't there, Chris?
There is, and I agree with you, Dr. Garko. Looking at even just at the eye itself, it's pretty amazing to see how intricate we're made and how wonderful and beautiful we're created. And all the chemical processes that go on, even just looking at things, it's just mind-boggling. No computer could keep up with what the mind can do and the body could do.
Yeah, the chemistry. When you just study, and each discipline claims that it is the, I've heard chemists say everything else is just crochet. compared to chemistry. Right? Because the chemists think that that's the ultimate, right? And then you have others who say, no, it's our discipline that really is so important to understanding human nature, human anatomy, human whatever. Yeah, they're all important. How about that? Yeah, one single cell is enough to persuade me. But you look at the eye and and just the way we're organized, it's astonishing. And the body's attempt to protect itself. And sometimes we get in the way of our own destiny, don't we? By the way we live and by the way we eat. As you point out, this modern day affliction, or as they say in Kentucky, how do they say it, Gary?
Afflicted.
That boy's afflicted. This affliction of watching so much, having so much screen time that it's destroying, that it damages the eye, and you can, lose we want to keep your future in sight. So you need to protect your eyes. We come back, we'll talk some more with Chris. Are there other products from Ridgecrest Herbals that would contribute to eye health as well?
No, Essential Eyes would be the main one, but I also want to touch on Dream on Zen, because we're up at night looking at our screens. That reduces our melatonin.
All right, we'll talk about Dream on Zen. I like that. You're listening to Christopher Herbert, educator for Ridgecrest Herbals, ridgecrestherbals.com, coast to coast and globally.
Don't be stressed out or anxious.
life, all the conveniences of modern life, right? All the technology. It's a blessing and it's a curse, isn't it? That's how life goes. And one of the things that happens to us is that we get literally attached to our technology. I suspect now, anatomy books, when they show the human hand, there will be a phone in the hand. This is part of natural anatomy. Handheld device. My God. I wonder if somebody's done a study on how long people have a handheld device in their hand throughout the day. It's got to be hours. It's crazy. Well,
I just checked how long I be on how long I'm on Facebook a day. It says I'm on 2 hours and 41 minutes a day.
You are. I'm going to talk to you in a minute, Reggie. Reggie is illustrative of what we've been talking about with Chris Herbert. Chris, welcome back. And it's gotten so crazy in the amount of time people spend in front of these computer screens, whether it's on your phone, a screen, a digital screen of some sort, phone, computer, whatever, TV, that the WHO has now unofficially identified gaming anxiety gaming disorder, which is a psychological disorder, because these people are spending so many hours in front of a screen gaming. And to that, I'll ask you, Reggie, how many hours a day do you spend gaming?
I don't clock it
on average. On average,
I would probably say like yesterday. Yesterday I was off. I probably did spend about like 5 hours in front of the game yesterday.
Are you serious?
I actually probably did. I got to this level that I really wanted to get past, and I kept having blocks in it, and so I kept doing it until I got it right, and it took me about 5 hours to get everything that I wanted out of it.
Explain to the listeners what a level is first.
Well, I mean, I always have I have a Nintendo Switch that I always carry around with me. So I
always carry my rosary around, but go ahead.
No, I mean, I spend a lot of the time here. Like if I do this show, and then if I have to do anything else, like I don't like to leave and then come back, or I don't want to go home and then come back. So I just stay in the studio, but I always have the game. And so when I have free time like that, or like I read comics, but I read them off of my iPad.
See, you listening to this, Chris? You catching this? It's exactly what you were talking about. So, this is not science fiction. So you're spending, what do you think, on average every day gaming?
Okay, well, I had this.
On average.
I bought this game that I got like a month ago, right?
Yeah.
And I looked on the Switch thing, and it said, I actually had somebody else tell me how long I've been playing on the game. It said I had 150 hours logged on this game. And I've only had it a month.
Wow.
To put that in comparison, Doc, he could have went to EMT school. So it takes 150 hours to go to EMT paramedic school. And also, I got to say hi to Chris Kreider. It's his birthday today, and they're listening in Michigan.
Oh, well, happy birthday, Chris Kreider. And give my best to your lovely wife, and tell her I said hello. You see, Chris, Reggie is not unusual in this regard. In fact, he may be on the low side of the number of hours that people are spending in front of screens. You know what I'm saying? So I really appreciate you talking about that today. And you had mentioned that being in front of the screens also disrupts the sleep architecture. Could you sort of review that again?
Yeah, absolutely. Blue light is we could also get it from the sun. The sun emits light waves, right? And so blue light is actually coming from the sun as well. And it helps us in many ways. Blue light does help boost alertness, helps memory and cognitive function, helps elevate our mood. You notice it too, like during the winter months, we ended up getting seasonal affection disorder. So we end up becoming sad because the light's not out, and we're not getting, the natural well-being coming from the sun and the sun rays. It also helps regulate our circadian rhythm. But at the same time, it does something else, and that is it suppresses our melatonin, especially at nighttime. Whenever the night comes, our melatonin starts increasing in our brains, making us more tired essentially telling us and telling our bodies, hey, we need to go to sleep. Whenever we are on our screens, it will suppress, the blue light suppresses the melatonin, tricking the mind and the nervous system, making us feel awake and keeping us up longer.
I'll be
And
darned.
they say for 1 hour of screen time at night reduces melatonin by 23%.
And so your product, Dream on Zen, what are the ingredients?
Yeah, so Dream on Zen contains black cohosh root, chamomile flower, lemon balm, hops, valerian, magnesium. All of these are really designed to help the body get into a deep, peaceful sleep, relax the mind, calm the nerves down. And then we add some mood support with a little bit of 5-HTP to help produce serotonin, make the body feel good, the mind feel good, and some jujube fruit, which gives the body and the nervous system more of a relaxing feeling.
Melatonin in there?
No melatonin. You know,
That's
at
interesting.
Ridgecrest, we're really big at having the plants and the herbs support the body to produce its own melatonin.
So that formulation will help create the melatonin?
It will. It'll help stimulate the body to produce the melatonin that it needs.
Is the pituitary gland responsible for melatonin production?
Oh, good question. I'm not sure on that. I want to say that that's accurate, but I'm not positive.
I think Gary can check my work, but I'm pretty sure that pituitary gland is not very big, and if we want to, we can show an image of the brain and exactly where the pituitary gland is located. Again, by design, we are all these systems are interconnected. So the way you described how that exposure to too much excessive blue light disrupts our ability to sleep by interfering with melatonin production and so on. It's just amazing how one thing links to another. Hence, you can take Dream on Zen, and then, of course, the other product that we talked about as well. You want to give them the name?
Yes, it's called Essentialize. And so you would take that throughout the day, especially if you have a lot of screen time, if your eyes are very important too. So a lot of pilots, a lot of people, even submarines too, they're constantly looking at screens. And if you notice too, especially pilots and electronics in submarines, the color of the dials and instruments are a natural orange, deep red color. Because it's a lot easier on the eyes.
How? So that's why in the movies they're that color. Okay, got it. We'll be back. The things you learn. And here's the LTN health question of the day. Earlier, I was talking about the island nation of Mauritius. It's a pretty extraordinary place. But here's the question, and I'll tell you more. Let me give you the question, and if you have the right answer, you'll win a 3-day trip to the... No. The best we can do is give you a $25 supplement gift card. You can get some Ridgecrest Herbals, Essential Eyes, or, help with your blue light exposure. Okay? We get your eyes taken care of, and get your everything else taken care of with Ridgecrest Herbals. So here's the question. The island nation of Mauritius sits in what body of water? Black Sea, Indian Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, or Pacific Ocean? Where is the island nation of Mauritius? Black Sea, Indian Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean. What do you think? Give me a call.
877-897-8255. That's 877-897-TALK. And I have a question for Chris. It's not what we're talking about, but it's their Clear Lungs product.
Yes.
If someone was injured in an accident and they had a collapsed lung, can they take the Clear Lungs?
Chris?
Yeah, good question. Honestly, I'm not sure. I don't see why not, but I would just be cautious and research the ingredients that are found in Clear Lungs.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. What's the purpose of Clear Lung? What would it do? What's its purpose?
It's to help circulation to the lungs, to help recover from whatever ailment people might be dealing with, but also to help to clear out excess mucus and phlegm and the toxins that we breathe in daily, and especially if you're a smoker too. Really good for smoking as well.
I don't know if that product would serve the purpose of a collapsed lung. Do you?
No, nothing that I could see offhand. I mean, it could help with the circulation to help with to speed up healing, but I'm not too sure on that. That's a good question, though.
Essential Eyes and Dream on Zen are the two products we talked about from Ridgecrest Herbals. Here's the health question of the day. I'll make it a little easier for you. The island nation of Mauritius, where is it found? Black Sea, Indian Ocean, or Pacific Ocean? That island nation is so unique, Chris. I did a little bit more research on it. Interesting history. First, the Dutch had it back in the 17th century. Then the French took it in the 18th century. And then the British took it in the 19th century. And now it declared independence in 1968 and became a republic in 1992. So, yeah. And on that island, it had some unique species of animals. One was the dodo. You know the dodo bird?
Yeah.
Became extinct on that island. The species was extinct when humans started to occupy it. Humans get in the way of nature. It's just, I love doing the show for a lot of reasons. One of them is that you get introduced to material and to concepts and to places and to people and to things and processes that you otherwise probably wouldn't give one thought or wit about or even know about, for that matter. So in a way, I sort of see this show as like a living encyclopedia, animated living encyclopedia, if you will, to try to educate ourselves and about a lot of things related to health. Eventually, I'll bring it. I get it back to the health, wellness, and well-being sooner or later. I can make the connection. So we enjoy having you on. I was talking with Gary off air. I don't need to ingratiate myself with you. You're a friend, but I got to tell you, you just have a natural way of talking about things on the show, and we appreciate that. And so does the audience.
Yeah, thank you.
There's no pretense. You're not pretending to be some great scientist, that discovered this and that or whatever telling me how many books you wrote, and you're just like me, just an everyday guy, just trying to get through this and figure it out and learn and appreciate and embrace ideas. You have a natural curiosity about things, and we enjoy that on the show. Believe you, Gary and I talk about the guests off air.
Yes, we do.
So I just wanted. That's my way of letting. Well, at one time I wouldn't have said a thing about this, but I've changed a lot. So I'm just telling you that we appreciate you. That's what I'm saying.
Well, thank you, Dr. Garko, and thank you too, Gary. I really do appreciate that.
Oh, he said terrible things about you, though. No.
I said I want a beard just like him.
Yeah, I hope that someday you show up and we can show a photo of you without your beard. I wonder what you're so handsome. I wonder what you look like underneath that beard.
I don't know, but I have a feeling I'd probably scare my kids. If I faced the beard.
That's all they know. They know your dad. Let's go to Michigan and Tracy. We know Tracy. Hi, Tracy.
Hi, Dr. Garko.
Oh my God, your voice. Listen. We got to get you back on this show.
Well, we have Dr. Mitchell coming on, but I figured for as much as I watch and listen, depending on the day.
Yeah.
Google has you primed and ready to go during the weeks that I'm home, and when I'm not, I always listen to the reruns, which a lot of people don't know. These are accessible 24 hours a day, so if you miss the show, you can always tune in.
Yeah, we certainly miss you. What's the answer?
Indian Ocean.
Yeah, Mauritius is an island nation that's about 2,000 miles off the southeastern coast of the African continent. It sounds like an intriguing place, but apparently scientists from Singapore are trying to figure out if there are some, and they found some tropical plants that contain compounds that can maybe help with the curing of cancer, because in Singapore, it's the leading cause of death. Thank you so much for watching us and listening to us and your support. You're a fan. We love you. You're one of our fans, man. We love you more than you love us, I'm sure. Thank you. And Chris, we love you too, man. And Ridgecrest Herbals, go to ridgecrestherbals.com, and you can find all the wonderful products there that we talked about today, and much, much more. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll try this again. Repetition. We'll get it right sooner or later. You are listening and you were watching Let's Talk Nutrition, coast to coast and globally. Your health is your wealth.
Everyone's